For the 14th straight month, Canadians continue to limit their travel to the United States from Canadian airports.
A number just came out yesterday, the 42%, and it rewrites everything we thought we knew about the relationship between Canada and the United States. Not the relationship between governments, not the relationship between leaders, the relationship between people. Because what researchers in Toronto just published, drawing on cell phone mobility data from 267 American metropolitan areas, isn't a slump. It isn't a dip. It is, in their own words, a collapse. And it's deeper than anything the official border numbers have been telling us for the last 14 months. Now, here's the part that caught me off guard. Statistics Canada had been showing roughly a 25% drop in Canadian return trips from the US since this whole thing started. And that already felt enormous. That was already the worst sustained drop in cross-border travel outside of the COVID era. But the University of Toronto's School of Cities just published a new analysis, part of their Mapping Tariffs project, led by Karen Chappell, Yihoi Zheng, and Jeff Allen, that uses anonymized cell phone movement instead of border counts. And the median drop they found across US cities was 42%. That's a 17-point gap between what the border was telling us and what the phones were telling us. And if you live in Canada, if you have family in Florida, if you run a business in Buffalo or Burlington, that 17-point gap is the entire story. Let me give you the stakes here, because this isn't just travel data. This is one of the few times we get a real-time granular look at what economic and political pressure actually does to ordinary people's decisions. We talk about tariffs in abstract terms, billions of dollars, sectoral impacts, GDP fractions, but this is something different. This is what 41 million Canadians decided in their kitchens, at their dining tables, on their phones at midnight when they were about to book a flight and didn't. Here's what the data actually shows. The researchers tracked Canadian phones moving from Canada into the US and back again between April 2024 and March 2026, a full 2-year window that captures both the before and the after of the current trade and political environment. They looked at 267 US metro areas. Of those, 50 saw Canadian visits drop by at least 50%. 50 cities, only 3 saw any increase at all. Portland, Oregon, Gainesville, Florida, and Cleveland. That's it, out of 267. Myrtle Beach posted the steepest decline at over 65%. Panama City, Orlando, Cape Coral, Miami, Naples, Northport, all in the worst hit group. Las Vegas, where Canadian visits dropped roughly 18%. Even San Francisco, Houston, and Grand Rapids, cities that have nothing to do with snowbirds but everything to do with business travel, show steep declines. For decades, Canadian travel to the United States hasn't been a luxury or a hobby. It has been an integrated part of the North American economy. Canadians spent roughly $20.5 billion inside the United States in 2024 alone, on more than 20 million trips. That money pays American hotel workers, restaurant servers, theme park staff, ski resort employees, gas station owners. It funds duty-free shops at every land crossing. It keeps Florida real estate stable in winter. When 42% of that flow disappears, the impact doesn't land in Washington. It lands in small business bank accounts in border towns. It lands in the staffing decisions of resort operators in Myrtle Beach. It lands in the local economies of places that never sat at a trade negotiation table but are now paying for what happens at one. And that's the structural piece nobody is putting in the headlines. I want you to remember one number from this video, just one, 42. Because that number and the gap between it and the 25% the border data was showing is the part that nobody saw coming. And once you understand why that gap exists, you understand everything that comes next. But before I get to that, you need to understand this first. Because the gap between the border numbers and the phone numbers isn't a measurement error, it's a message. Where we left off, that 17-point gap between 25% and 42%. Most people scrolled past this and assumed it was a methodology quirk. It isn't, it's a behavior story. The border data only counts whether someone crossed. The phone data shows what they did once they were inside. And what the researchers found is that Canadians who do still travel to the US are visiting fewer cities, staying for shorter periods,